this has been a really big news day. Dr. Joe Biden went on television to address the U.S., the population, the people, American citizens, about what is happening in Israel. This attack by Hamas terrorists over the weekend has the Republicans in Congress scrambling because they don't have a speaker at a time when perhaps the legislation needs to be passed to provide additional support to Israel as our ally. And the president had to reveal that more than 1,000 civilians have been killed by Hamas fighters. 14 of those are Americans, and that Americans have been taken hostage. This is just a horrific story. One of the things, though, I'm starting to see over the last couple of days is kind of the fissures, I would say, in the Democratic Party, particularly amongst what I'll call the super liberal wing of the party, some that even call themselves Democratic Socialists, and the more moderate wing of the party. New York this week, that was played out. There was a pro-Palestinian rally in Times Square, and a lot of elected officials were, feeling a little uncomfortable because otherwise, but for the attack over the weekend, they might have supported this rally. But even those who are pro-Palestinian within the Jewish community and the what I'll call the liberal wing of the Democratic Party, they had to backtrack on some statements that they made. What do you make of this moment and how it is exposing the complexity of U.S. support for Israel, but those in the party that also believe we should be acknowledging the atrocities that, Palestinians, not the Hamas terrorists who are separate, from the everyday, people who are part of the Palestinian nation, but just some of the fissures in the Democratic Party around, the Palestinian-Israel crisis that has been, going on as long as you and I have been alive.
Yes, thank you for having me back. And, just to start off with, this tragedy is horrific. To talk about the humanity aspect of it, to see the lives lost, to see the people who have been displaced, the people who have been taken hostage, the women and children who have lost their lives and are continuously losing their lives as this fight and this another war of aggression is taking place. Now, what we're seeing within the Democratic Party and what we're seeing within the United States, and I think globally at large, is a continuing fraction over what is happening in Israel when we're thinking about the Israelis versus the Palestinians, or if that should be a versus type of conflict at this point. What I advocate for is peace. I feel like the people who live in those regions deserve peace. Palestinians deserve peace, as well as Israelis deserve peace at this time, particularly the people who are innocent in this conflict, who has been experiencing this ongoing conflict for generations. But it is very telling what's going on in the Democratic Party. And I think we're all kind of split in wanting peace to come on both sides for the innocent people who are living there. And, again, separating the terrorist attack from the individuals, the innocent lives who live there, they do also need our support at this time. And to remember they're part of this larger conflict that we are trying to resolve. And I won't say too much again on the political side, because we just haven't seen enough of this current conflict to really know where we're going from here and what kind of peace we will be able to reestablish in that region. But I think it's very telling, because it's been an ongoing conflict for decades, that we are going to see some of the aftermath of what's been going on long term actually take place currently and throughout the future. And so I can't say too much, politically about it, because I think we have yet to see all the things uncover as to what is really rooting this ongoing conflict and how we really can bring peace to this region, to the people that live there.
One of the things, and I think you're absolutely right, it's early on. We don't know how this is going to be resolved. But one of the things I've been watching for, Doctor, as I'm watching the coverage on cable news, as I'm watching the coverage on the internet, is this sense that if you make a statement in support of the innocent women, children, families that are caught in this crisis who happen to be Palestinians, that some people interpret that as an anti-Israeli stance or comment, and that there has to be this binary choice that either you are standing solidly with Israel or you are not. And you are a historian, and the deep-rooted animus between these two groups of people and how it has played out over the decades. But is there room in this discourse at this moment when so many people have lost their lives, people have been kidnapped? I mean, the terror is so great, it's palpable for us here in the United States. But is there room to talk about in this moment the suffering of the innocent Palestinians, not the Hamas terrorists, not the folks that Biden condemned, that we all condemn, domestic terrorists, foreign terrorists? I mean, peace-loving people, and you and I are, and the president is, aren't supporting the terrorists. But it seems like you can't even say too much in support of the innocent Palestinians in this moment.
Yeah, it seems that way. But I think there is room to support the innocent Palestinians in this particular conflict. As I tell my students in the classroom when we're debating and, talking about history, whether it's in the past and even with these contemporary current day issues, it's always messy, it's always sticky, and we always want to draw a line in the sand and make everything black and white. And sometimes it's just sometimes gray. And it is okay, as I tell my students, that two things can be true. So in this case, yes, we can support the innocent Palestinians who are losing their lives and who are losing their families and who are losing their homes in this ongoing conflict, as well as we can stand with Israel against this terrorist attack that has taken place. Yes, two things can be true, and we can do both. And I find that in our society, trying to do one thing over the other is what allows these ongoing conflicts and these ongoing systems of oppression and inequalities to keep taking root in our society.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you said that. And that is true. I saw a scholar on, again, a program last night. And he was, and maybe he was responding to the comment that this was bound to happen because of the oppression of the Palestinians by Israel. And he was saying that the Palestinians, again, lumping them all together, not identifying just the Hamas terrorists, but saying, just because there is a prison break due to horrible conditions in the prison, doesn't justify the prison break, was essentially his point. So shooting the guards is not justification, even if you've been oppressed in prison. And okay, I get that. Yes, you don't get to kill someone just because they've been mean to you or you live in an oppressed situation. But I think for me, the nuance that wasn't there was that, as you just said, that there are terrorists, and even the Palestinians are at odds with, and many of them are not in support of these violent terrorist attacks that are being carried out by the Hamas terrorists. And this is such a nuanced, and complex issue. And when we try to reduce it, as you said, down to simple black and white, simple, you're with us or you're not, we get into trouble because it is far more complex than that. And but I do find that it's dangerous. And then, you again, are in an environment, and I'm sure colleagues that are Jewish, and we know that this is a very sensitive subject, as it should be. And I am in full support, 100% support of, the Israeli government and the people that are losing their lives, wishing all of them the best. But maybe this crisis, when it's not as raw, it gives us an opportunity to educate people and to have some conversations, because something has to happen in that region. I mean, how long can this continue?
Yeah, something has to change. And at the end of the day, we all bleed the same. and we all die the same, right? And at the end of the day, I think we need to get down to the root of our humanity, and it's conflicts like this that allows us to question ourselves. What are we really fighting for, and who are we fighting against when we have larger, bigger enemies, particularly when we're thinking about those who want to cause us harm through acts of terrorism.